What is going on, everybody? In today's video, we are going to be talking about how to buy a house in 2023. And at the end of this video, we're also going to give some predictions for the real estate market. So watch all the way to the end. And I have with me Matt Allan. He's on one of the top lending teams
Hey
in
guys.
this area. And obviously I'm a real estate agent and real estate investor. So we're just going to be covering pretty much everything you need to know about buying a property. So number one, first step would be to do just like general research on the real estate market, on the types of properties at different listings. Like you want to be, before you even like talk to a real estate agent, lender, or anything, you just kind of want to get a general idea of what you're going into. Like no matter that's pretty much true for anything. I mean, that's a pretty obvious tip, but I mean, I talk with some buyers and I could just tell that they may have not done like hardly any research. And so you don't need to be an expert, but you should have a general idea of kind of like what's going on and that type of thing.
Yeah, and I definitely say, take some time to kind of really figure out what your budget's going to be, right? I mean, you have two ways to look at it. You can look at your loan amount or your purchase price, or you can look at it on a monthly payment, right? Those kind of two options. So really take a look at that and be truthful with yourself. You know, what are you comfortable spending on a monthly basis, and kind of figure that out in your finances.
Yeah. Because and we'll get into like the actual amount that you're approved for. I mean, some people might be approved for $1 million, but that doesn't mean you need to spend $1 million. You can you can buy half of that and travel or do different things, repair renovations, or you don't have to max out your budget. But I'd say that after you do some general research on properties and the real estate market and the home buying process, the first thing would be to find a real estate agent, a good real estate agent. So you want someone that's local and has good reviews, and ideally also comes like recommended. So if you're in the DC area, reach out to myself and my team. We have dozens of 5-star reviews. Or if you're in a different area, you can reach out to me as well, because I have different contacts, and Matt does as well, like pretty much nationwide. So if you hate, I was talking with someone and they're like, I hate my real estate agent. I was like, why? And they're like, oh, they never respond. Every time we want to see a property, that something always comes up. So if you have that agent, reach out to us and we'll help you out. And the agent will be the one that'll tell you about the lender. So every agent should have like some really good lenders that they work with. So like myself, my team, we work with Matt quite a bit.
Yeah.
He's a full, like, you can talk a little bit about how you work, but you can text Matt, you can call Matt. He's reachable. Some lenders have like 1-800 numbers halfway across the country. You can't talk to them. And believe it or not, getting a loan is more difficult than people think. So it can be if you have the wrong lender, and it can mess things up.
Yeah, and a lot of things come up during the whole process, right? And you want to be able to make sure you stay on the ball, you're on top of it. We have an awesome support team. I have a great support team on my end, where any hiccups that come up, even on the weekend, Saturday, Sunday, like Jeff said, all of my clients have my cell phone number to text me, call me. Same with Jeff. You were mentioning how important it is to have a local lender and a local realtor like yourself. You don't really get any more local than us if you think about it. Jeff, you grew up in Arlington your whole life, right? I grew up in DC. We're very, very local, but just knowing the market, right? Knowing what's realistic and being able to get in contact with us on a regular basis. And talk about the 1-800 number. I'm not going to name names of different lenders out there, but it's so frustrating when I have clients that, they're working with a different lender, and then I'll explain how important it is to have your lender and your realtor be in contact with you on a regular basis. And then they apply somewhere else. They get dumped in that 1-800 number pool. They have no idea who to reach out to. It gets 2 weeks away from closing. They're freaking out. But the good news is they reach out to me, or they reach out to Jeff. We get it straightened out, and then it's fine. But just kind of knowing that, and it's tough when it's the first time you're looking. You don't know those things.
It happens more times than you would think, where you're a week away from closing, 2 weeks away from closing, and if you chose the wrong lender, the whole deal can get mucked up. And they'll say, I just had just happened to me recently, where they're like, we need 3 extra weeks to close. And
jeez.
Yeah, so it's very important to choose the right lender. And the next thing is to get pre-approved. And the good thing, everyone's talking about interest rates, and interest rates obviously have gone higher than they were, a few years ago. But there's also a lot of incentives and different programs and creative, like lenders are coming up with different ways, and you can talk a little bit about the different types of loans out there.
Yeah.
But there's options where you don't have to pay as much as you might think. Like you see the CNN headlines, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's where you have to pay.
Well, what's nice too is, I mean, yes, our rates higher than what they were before a little bit over a year ago, where we hit historical low rates ever, right? And historically, our rates are still good right now, but the market has changed, and that's been beneficial for buyers. Where, Jeff, you tell me, but I'm assuming you're not seeing the 20 offers on properties and having bidding wars anymore. I mean, our local area, the sales price have gone down just about 8% since a year ago. So that's an 8% discount, right there off the bat. Plus, you're not overpaying for a house. So you're immediately starting out with more equity in the home, which is awesome. And then say you have a home inspection, right? That was on the buyer before. Now you don't have to pay for those home inspection items that come up that average about, $6,000 each time. So you have that too. You don't have the rental buybacks anymore. You don't have buyers paying for that. So there's a lot of benefits, and kind of, it's more of a buyer's market when it comes to not having to have bidding wars anymore and kind of these equity items, which is great.
And you guys have different like adjustable rate mortgages now and things like that, like the different programs. Because everyone thinks you have to pay like 7% on a mortgage, but there's ways where you can do like a lot less than that.
Yeah, I mean, of course, you have VA where you can pay 0% down, right? If you're a military member, and then we do have obviously 3% down. I think there's a common misconception sometimes of, back in the day there was the need to put 20% down or this high amount, which typically only really relates to if you have the means to do so, and then also if you're doing investment property. But typically you can get away with putting 3% down depending on your application. But we have a lot of first-time home buyer programs. We have a lot of different accessment to grants, which is awesome, because you have other products that have secondary loans, but these grants you don't have to pay back. And if you're a first-time home buyer, you can get 1-2%, which is great. And each state has their own different programs. And me being at Fairway, we have access to all these programs, which is really awesome, because we can really cater the best solution and options to you, the buyer, which is great.
Yeah. So when you're looking at buying a property, ask your lender for several different options. It doesn't have to you don't have to put 20% down, 30-year loan. There's so many different options. Have your lender say, look, this is what I'm looking to do. I might be looking to sell it in 5 years or 10 years, whatever it is. And have your lender give you like 3, 4 different or 5 different options, because there's a lot of different things going on right now.
Right.
Okay.
And I would say too that when you're going in as a buyer and it's really overwhelming, especially a first-time home buyer, right, is you're thinking you have to do all of this stuff and you have to gather all these documents and do all these things. Talk to someone like Jeff, talk to someone like me, and we can talk through just a few things to kind of get you started, to give you an idea of what your budget's going to be. We get an idea of what your credit score is. You submit that application, we look at your income, and you're started. We can help you with the budget. We can help you with all that and find a couple options. So if you just get over that first starting point, it can just be so much easier, and you don't have to kind of put yourself in circles trying to figure out how to get started.
Yeah. And, after you've found an agent who's referred you to a lender, and after you've gotten pre-approved, you can look at houses before you're pre-approved, but you shouldn't really, you should really get pre-approved, because you just never know, because your lender might say, look, you can't afford this but you need to get your credit score up a bit, or maybe the lender will say you can't afford anything, or maybe they'll say you can afford a $5 million house. So you really have no idea. So you need to that's why it's important. That's why agents don't work with people that aren't pre-approved, because it's you're just kind of wasting your time, because if you do see something you like, you're going to have to get pre-approved. So you might as well just do that to begin with. And, so once you get pre-approved, then you should start looking at different properties. You can go to open houses, you can look online, and then obviously also go with your agent. And I would go in different neighborhoods that maybe it wasn't your top choice, but you never know. Sometimes, more often than not, people might be looking at only townhouses, and then all of a sudden they buy a single family or a condo, or they might love this one neighborhood, but then they go visit this other neighborhood and they're like, oh wait, that one's actually a lot better. So kind of like do a little bit of variety, and then eventually you're like honed down on everything.
Right. And also with a pre-approval, you don't want to waste your time. You don't want to waste your realtor's time, going around to different properties and all of a sudden you fall in love with that property, but then you realize that you can't afford it or you're not going to be pre-approved for it. And then you just get disappointed, right? So having that pre-approval letter, it shows your realtor that you're serious, you're willing to make a move quickly if you can. It shows also whenever you put in that offer, just how quick you can turn around because you have that pre-approval letter in hand. And then you're not disappointed. You know exactly what your budget is. You know what the top budget is. You work with the lender to, give you a range and different options, and just having that peace of mind that for sure that, hey, I'm set up, I'm ready to go. It's kind of your ticket to walk around and see what's out there and be confident that you can actually purchase that home if you choose to do so.
And I've seen it happen too, where it's like it might be a Saturday afternoon or like 3 or 4 o'clock, and then you find the perfect house.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're like, well, I don't have my pre-approval letter. And then so you're contacting the lender, and they're like, we have a 9 p.m., 8 p.m. deadline on Saturday for the offers, and you're just not prepared, and then you just lose it because you never listened to your agent to begin with.
Yeah. It happens more often. I mean, there's been times that you've given me a call, and that's exact same situation. And I've had multiple realtors that I've worked with that it's Saturday, Sunday, exactly like you said, and no one else is picking up the phone and need that pre-approval letter. And look, it's just like anything, right? Where you might see option number 1, you're like, iffy about that house. Option number 2, iffy. And then just out of the blue, you find that house, you love it. And then there's something inside of you as a buyer, like, I got to do it now. Well, you got to have that pre-approval letter so then Jeff can submit that offer for you. Well,
and even in this market, it's, the right houses still get multiple offers. So it doesn't happen anywhere near as much as it used to, but there's still multiple offers. Okay. So you've looked at a bunch of houses, or maybe just a few, and you find a house and you make an offer. So like the 2023 market, well, it's just the first week, but, leading up to it, prices have dropped a bit. Right. So a lot there. I think I saw some stat where it was like just different neighborhoods, at least in the DC area, was like 40% of houses in pretty much every neighborhood have had price drops. So prices are definitely, it's not to say they could go down lower. It's possible, but they've definitely dropped a bit. Really nice houses that are exceptional, like the penthouse suite with the floor to ceiling windows and it's priced well. Those still get multiple offers. But the majority of properties, longer days on market, more price drops. And when you make the offer, your agent should call the listing agent, find out as much background info as possible. And then they should, run their comps conservatively. Nobody should really take into account like appreciation. You shouldn't be like, well, CNN said the market might go up 5%. I mean, maybe, but just, be conservative when your agent runs their comps. And then when I make the offer, I like to have Matt, he'll call the listing agent and say, you can tell him what you say, but it helps when your lender is like a person, like personal, and they're calling them and say, look, they're very well qualified, or we can get this closed quick. How fast can you guys close a deal?
We can close whatever is needed by you within reason. So what's
what is
awesome,
within reason?
So, on average, I would say other lenders close anywhere between 30 and 45 days. For us, we're around 20. And if it's certain loans, then it's that 20 is kind of the minimum amount. But I mean, I've closed a loan in 10 days. And that type of circumstance is where you have that client who had a bad experience with a lender and it just fell through, and you're like, oh my God, we have to get this done because we can't let our clients down. You give me a call and you say, hey, we got to make this happen. Then that's where I basically, ring the bell and bring everyone on and get it done and take care of it. But, on average, it's about 20 days, but I know that typically it's about 30 that's needed. But
and that, that can help you win offers in this market, because if you do come across a property that's competitive, Matt can be like, look, we can close faster than the other offer.
Yep.
And, you're also just calling them, letting them know that the buyer is well qualified. So that helps to give the listing agent more like reassurance.
Yeah. And by then, of course, Jeff has, my pre-approval, your pre-approval within the offer. It has Fairway Mortgage, which is, we're the third largest private mortgage company in the country. We're actually licensed in every state, which is awesome. Not me personally, but our company is. And it's really awesome having those resources and having sellers know our name. And when they see that a pre-approval letter in, they know that they can count on us to get it done. And I was, like Jeff said, I was like doing the personal touch of giving the phone call a few minutes after the offer is submitted, just so they know that we're on top of it for you, and we'll take care of everything that's needed.
Okay, so let's say we make our offer, we get it accepted. In 2000, like before, like the last couple of years, a lot of times you'd have to waive a home inspection, waive appraisal, waive financing. You just would have to be like, look, we'll just offer you this amount, and your cat's in the background, kind of funny.
Sorry.
I'm sure people will, if you've watched the video this far, drop a cat emoji in the comment section.
Yeah. She's a cutie.
So the home inspection and appraisal. So in this market, we can oftentimes keep the home inspection and appraisal. So which is good. So like you can keep like a 7-day home inspection, and then a standard financing and appraisal is like 21 days. You guys can probably do it a little bit sooner than that, but it protects you. Before it was a little bit riskier making these offers because you just have to waive everything.
Yeah, and it's huge. It gives the buyer some power back and protections, like you said, that if there's anything that goes wrong or something comes up, you have an out, which is great. You always want that for your client.
Yeah. And like I said, if it's a competitive property, you might have to do like a pre-inspection where you get the property inspected before you make the offer, or maybe do like a shortened inspection or just like a void only where you just either cancel it or you just, you can do a full home inspection, but you only have the option to withdraw or proceed. You don't really negotiate. But yeah, and also with appraisal contingencies, I mean, I've seen some deals recently where we've gotten great deals because the market softened up a bit. So the appraisals come in higher than what we have under contract for. So the buyer gets some, pretty good equity in there.
Yeah. And I've actually seen that quite a bit where maybe we can do another video, Jeff, too, where that kind of breakdown of the market analysis year over year that kind of touches on that, before you were overpaying by 5 to 10%. Now you're underpaying, and you're just getting that little bit extra equity, whether it's 2, 3, 4%, because the appraisal comes in a solid number, which is great.
And I would recommend too, with like home inspection credits, like if the seller is able to give you a credit, if you negotiate a credit, well, I would recommend a credit over them doing repairs, because I've always found that the seller might not do the best repairs, and it's just cleaner for everyone involved if you just get a credit for, instead of doing like 12 different items or whatever it may be. And then you'd give your agent will do this, but you'd get a credit addendum that you would send to the lender, and they would take that credit away from the closing costs. So you'd have less closing costs, some more cash in your pocket.
And then you can choose to do them or not do them, right?
Exactly.
If you just want the money in your pocket, you can. That's your prerogative, which is also nice.
And then next up, is basically getting to closing. Once you've gotten through home inspection, you usually do the home inspection within the first week. You're going to be working with your lender. You're going to be working with Matt closely. Make sure he has all his documents. Make sure there's no delays. You just want to be on top of that. The title company's going to ask you for stuff. Your lender's going to ask you for stuff. And then who knows, you might be able to close sooner if you get them everything they need.
Yeah. And what me and my team like to focus on is we want to make the experience as easy as possible for you. We want it to be fun, good time. We want you to focus on what you're going to put in your house and when you're going to move in and all that. So when I work with my clients, I really like to get all the paperwork up front, right? We get all of it up front. We're very clear and concise of what we need. So we're not over asking for additional documents that we don't need. I know that that's a fear with some some clients that have had bad experiences with other lenders that you just don't necessarily need all the documents. If you know what you're asking for, we can keep that consolidated. But then it's order appraisal, it's moving towards closing, and there's a few milestones. But me and my team just keep you informed the entire way. Jeff and I talk throughout the whole process, make sure you're good to go, and move you to closing. And we also have what's called a closing disclosure that kind of basically, it's almost like a cheat sheet of all the kind of financial information that me and my team go through prior to closing. So there's never any surprises. You know exactly what to expect. You know exactly what the rate is, monthly payment, all that. And I know that Jeff takes great pride in educating his clients, just like I do as well.
Yeah. And so let's talk about predictions for the market. So a lot of people, kind of what a lot of the experts are predicting, so there's still historically very low inventory, right? So very low inventory, right? But, obviously interest rates have gone up a little bit. So people are kind of expecting like a flat or a slight increase in prices. Some say a slight decrease in prices. But overall, a lot of people are kind of saying it's going to be relatively flat. I have heard like if the inflation pressure decreases, then mortgage interest rates could drop a bit towards the end of the year potentially.
Yep.
But I mean, I would say generally speaking, like, and there's like a Warren Buffett quote about this: when other people are kind of like scared to buy, is kind of when you want to buy. So you can be more aggressive. You never want to, when everyone's buying, is kind of like, you just have to be.
When everyone's euphoric and just so they're freaking out and just trying to buy up everything because they think everything's going to be gone, which is pretty much what we experienced back a year ago, right? And the overpayment, that's what really, in my opinion, led to the overpayment of 10% over asking and all that, where now we're in that opposite side, like you're saying, right? Where I would say there's a lot of opportunity out there if you can find them, which I know you can help your clients find, Jeff. But there are really good opportunities. And whether you're looking for your own home, whether you're looking for an investment property, you're looking for a second home, whatever your needs are, first time home buyer. I mean, there's great condo options. I mean, there's a lot of stuff out there. And I don't typically speculate. This is just, I guess, a general statement that don't hold me to this, because no one knows. No one truly knows what's going to happen. But the Fed has continued to up rates a bit, but they seemingly are slowing down. And I will say that a lot of the information seems to be a little bit lagged when it comes to inflation, right? And that could potentially lead to that slowing down and potentially reversing and kind of coming back down again. So time will tell. I don't truly know, but I follow this pretty closely myself just because I like it and I'm in the industry. And but I would agree with you, Jeff, that seemingly it would probably be flat over the next few months. But anything can happen when it comes to the Fed pivoting and affecting the market. I mean, it could change very quickly. And in combination with the potential of rates dropping a bit, with inventory being historical lows for the last 10 plus years, it could be kind of a rush on purchasing. But
yeah,
there's definitely opportunity out there.
Yeah. All right. Well, good chatting with you, Matt. If you guys are looking to buy a property in the DC area or nationwide, reach out to us, contact us. We have people everywhere that we work with that are great.
Yep.
And drop any questions you have as well. And we'll see you on the next video.
Yep. Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate it. Thanks, everybody. See you in the next one.